While it's easy for people to think that they understand the Joker via the most popular depictions of him outside of the comic books, the Joker in print is a very different character. The Joker is inconsistently written and oftentimes serves more as a plot device than a character. These are the things that a lot of fans don't know and a lot of watchers might not want to accept. Now remember, we're talking about the Joker, which means if you're not old enough to watch a movie with the Joker in it, you may want to skip this one.
Wait till they get a load of me.
Let us know what your favorites are, and remember to push that red button to subscribe for more. He relies on Batman's logic. The Joker's an interesting character in that, while he's not as intelligent as Batman and certainly not as strong, he knows how to use Batman's intelligence to his advantage.
Why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?
Rather than trying to match Batman's intelligence, he instead flings mud. He'll come up with a plan that's intentionally ridiculous and make no sense in order to make Batman think that there's a greater plan to it all. This is why Batman will often overthink something as he forgets that the Joker's logic is intentionally wrong. This makes up a huge part of the Joker's rivalry with Batman in The Dark Knight. While the Joker claims he doesn't have a plan and that he's a dog chasing cars, the guy plans everything. The issue is that the plans make no sense and don't completely have any real aim at all. While the Joker's plan is roughly to get the rest of the world to realize that they're all as cutthroat as he is, and that everyone is corruptible, a la the Killing Joke, the methods he uses to get there are pretty nonsensical when logic is applied. Maybe that's why they work so well. The Joker is not inherently evil. While often seen to be just bad to the bone, a few writers have tried to add a bit more depth to the character. Grant Morrison, the writer responsible for the majority of the work done fleshing the Joker out, wrote on Justice League of America, and during his run, he revealed that the Joker was not wholly evil. When fighting Spectre, Martian Manhunter took the JLA into the Joker's mind. In this corner of his mind, the Joker stood as a happy man with a blonde wife similar to Harley Quinn. As well as being quite similar to Harley Quinn's fantasy during Suicide Squad, it made the point that at the Joker's core, there's a place of peace and light. While it didn't convince Batman, the character with the most interaction with the Joker, it raises a lot of interesting questions about the Joker's past, as there's much we haven't seen, and there are still relatively few writers who are willing to add layers to the Joker.
So how are we gonna feed our baby? You think I'm not worried about that? You think it's all a big joke to me?
He's not insane. Grant Morrison also penned Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth. In this book, he fleshed out Arkham, its doctors and treatments, and in doing so, taught us a lot about the Joker. Namely that he's not insane, and in fact suffers from a super sanity. He can't control the sheer amount of information he gets in, and while not insane, it has resulted in him being unable to control his outbursts. The doctors describe this inability as being similar to Tourette's syndrome, although this isn't a condition that the Joker has. Paul Dini backed this theory up in his story Case Study. In Case Study, a doctor's report reveals that while the Joker certainly has a cunning and sadistic mind, it wouldn't necessarily classify him as insane. While the report was in fact written by Harley Quinn, there's nothing factually wrong with her statement based on what we know of the Joker's psychology. He simply claims his insanity too often to truly be insane.
You're crazy. I'm not. No, I'm not.
He does not consider his own actions evil. Tying into what we talked about earlier, the Joker not only isn't totally evil, but also doesn't really even consider himself to be the bad guy. One of the reasons that the Spectre was not able to punish the Joker for his crimes was because divine punishment comes to those who are aware of their wrongdoings. While a character like Killer Croc is aware that he's doing bad, and could hypothetically be punished by Spectre for it, the Joker on the other hand genuinely doesn't seem to think what he's doing is wrong.
I like him already.
Part of this links into the popular theory that the Joker's super sanity has led him to realize that he's in a comic book. If that's the case, then what's right or wrong about killing comic book characters? After all, none of them are real. The fans grew tired of him. It's ironic that in the 60s, the Joker had the same problem as he does now. While the Joker is supremely popular today, there was a stint of 9 years in which the Joker didn't appear in any comics. While he was appearing in the Adam West TV show at the time, this was about all we saw of him. DC Comics editor Julius Schwartz was tired of the character, feeling that his antics were just repetitive and that the fans were growing tired of him. This gave DC a great opportunity to flesh out newer villains, and it's a big part of the reason that Batman's Rogues Gallery got a chance to shine for a brief while, before the Joker took the spotlight again. While Denny O'Neil reintroduced the character with a darker, pulpier edge, there was a long period of time when the Joker was almost forgotten about. It makes you wonder whether the Joker needs to go on another 10-year break with how overexposed he is today.
Why aren't you laughing?
He was the Red Hood long before Alan Moore. What made Alan Moore's comic The Killing Joke special was not that it revealed the origin story of the Joker, but that it retold a pre-existing origin story and then implied that it might not have been true after all. In the 1951 comic The Man Behind the Red Hood, it was revealed that the Joker was a supervillain before his transformation.
Okay, we go through here, past the filter tanks, and then Monarch playing cards is just beyond a partition.
Batman co-creator Bob Kane said he prefers the original origin over the Killing Joke. While Moore's work was to imply that it was only one of many potential origins on the character, Scott Snyder's run on Batman in the New 52 reintroduced the same origin for the Joker, meaning by this point it's pretty much universally accepted canon, even appearing in Tim Burton's first Batman movie. Nevertheless, Alan Moore's implication that the origin could just be one of many served to influence Heath Ledger's iconic performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight, in which the Joker famously attempts 3 tellings of how he got his scars. Harley Quinn was not his first sidekick. Now it's time to talk about little people. The Joker had a little person. His name was Gagsworth A. Gagsworthy, although his friends called him Gaggy. Gaggy was the original sidekick for the Joker, who was intended to be the Joker's answer to Robin. The inspiration for Gagsworth is the most Silver Age thing imaginable, with him being a dwarf who ran away from the circus in order to help the Joker commit his crimes. Needless to say, this less than flattering depiction of dwarfism didn't go down particularly well. While he was killed off after a short while, the character ended up returning at a couple of points in time. Most of the time he's trying to kill off Harley Quinn, the newer, hotter sidekick to the Joker, for taking his place. While it's one of the more questionable parts of comics, we can say for certain that we want to see it in a Tom and Jerry style cartoon. His solo series failed. The argument has been made before that the Joker should star in his own comic book series. A common argument used against that fact was that the Joker had a solo series that failed. The reason that series failed, however, was because of the heavy censorship of comics at the time, with the Comics Code Authority not allowing many Jokerish acts to be shown. This was the same act that was largely responsible for neutering the character and making him a harmless prankster clown during the Silver Age, if not creating the Silver Age altogether. One of the requirements of the CCA was that the villain always had to lose in some way. This didn't lend itself well to a comic series that is following the villain. This meant that the Joker had to be represented in a completely different way. The fans hated it, the fans stopped buying it, and the series was cancelled almost as soon as it began. Regardless, we still hope that he gets a second chance in a series where he can be himself sometime in the near future.
A joke a day keeps the gloom away.
His treatment of women. While adaptations like Batman the Animated Series present the Joker as a person who ignores the multiple advances of his most loyal henchwoman, the Joker of the comics is very different. That Joker is pretty comfortable with using any sick tactic in order to get one over his opponents, including doing some terrible things against women. Yikes! The earliest and most famous instance of this was when the Joker took Barbara Gordon and sent some pretty painful pictures to her father, the admirable Commissioner Gordon, not only humiliating and degrading her, but using her suffering purely as a tool to get to someone else. In Brian Azzarello's Joker, well, he's arguably even worse. While this was a darker and grittier take on the Joker that downplayed the theatrics, it's not untrue to the Joker's character, being willing to do anything to get to someone. We're sure you can work out for yourself what happened here. He was heavily influenced by The Comedian. We've spoken earlier about how the CCA softened the Joker's character and how Alan Moore influenced the character's mythology with The Killing Joke. What we haven't talked about is how Alan Moore recycled his previous work on Watchmen in order to flesh out the Joker in The Killing Joke. The Comedian, despite being a different character and aesthetic to the Joker, has a very similar outlook on life. Seeing the world and what he views as its impending doom and the sheer meaninglessness of everything that humanity strives for, he can only laugh at it. He's the comedian not because he tells jokes, but because he lives in a world he views as a joke. Sound familiar? It should, because 1 year after the completion of Watchmen, Alan Moore finished The Killing Joke. He took the comedian's mantra of the world being a joke and transplanted that into the Joker. The only difference? The Joker wants the rest of the world to see things his way. The comedian, on the other hand, just doesn't care.
It doesn't take a genius to see the world has problems.
Yeah, but it takes a room full of morons who think they're small enough for you to handle.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Is there anything about the Joker you wish we'd have covered? If so, leave a comment and let us know. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and check out the rest of our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CBR for cool videos about movies, action heroes, gaming, comics, and more.